Hi, boys and girls. Here we are again, Chapter 8, Lesson 4. And now we are going to again multiply fractions, but this time we are going to do some mixed numbers by a whole number, okay? Well, I didn't really read that right. Multiply a fraction or mixed number by a whole number. So in the last lesson, you multiplied whole numbers just by regular fractions. This time we're going to be using some mixed numbers. So you are going to be combining some things that you've already learned, okay? You have already got a great foundation for these things, so it's going to be amazing, okay? Do you remember what a mixed number is? A mixed number is a whole number and a fraction together as one number, okay? So let's jump in here to number 4. Number 4 says 4 times 1 and 1/5. Okay, 4 times 1 and 1/5. So what we want to do to be sure that we are multiplying pieces, because we have a fraction here to deal with, is we are going to change 1 and 1/5 from a mixed number to a fraction greater than 1. So instead of 1 and 1/5, we will have a fraction where the numerator, or the top number, is greater than the denominator, or the bottom number. Okay? That's a fraction greater than 1. So let's remember how we do that. 1 and 1/5. So we have one whole thing, and then we have 1/5. Okay? I'm just going to do a little doot. There's the 1/5. So how many pieces are in this one whole thing? Right there. How many pieces are in there? Well, 5, right? That's made of 5 pieces because that's what the denominator is telling us. That one whole piece is 5/5. And then, of course, we have our little precious right there, which is the 1/5, right? So if we put those two together, 5/5 and 1/5, that's 6/5, right? 5 pieces are in this one whole. I'm going to rewrite 1 and 1/5. 1 and 1/5. Okay? So we have, here we go. We have 5 pieces in this whole, right? So we have one, now watch what I'm doing, set of 5 pieces. And then, of course, our little precious right here, plus one more fifth. 1 times those 5 pieces plus this guy right here, that piece. 1 times 5 is 5, plus that one more is 6, which is exactly what we're showing right here. So instead of 4 times 1 and 1/5, we're just going to rewrite it 4 times, what did we get? 6/5. And you remember how to solve, right? 4 times 6/5. We have 4 sets of 6/5. So 4 times 6, what's 4 times 6? Let me see, 2 times 6 is 12. 4 times 6, 24. And the denominator is, of course, 5. Okay, so far we've done 2 things. We changed, let me change the color of my pen. We changed 1 and 1/5 to 6/5, and then we multiplied 4 times 6/5 because that's what it says right here in the original problem. 4 times 6/5 is the same as 4 times 1 and 1/5. And now, boys and girls, what they want you to do is don't leave 24/5. change 24/5 to a mixed number. All right, 24/5 equals, let me think now. What does 24/5 mean? We have 24 pieces, and then that 5 is telling me that 5 pieces makes one whole thing. Okay, there are a couple ways you can look at this. I sometimes like to look at it just like a division problem. 24 divided by 5. Well, how many sets of 5 are in 24? Okay, I'm going to count by 5s. And I'm putting a finger up for each set of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. All right, I have 4 fingers up. 5, 10, 15, 20. For each of those fingers, 5, 10, 15, 20. There are 5 pieces. So each of those fingers means one whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 whole things. Okay, 24 divided by 5 is 4, but then, of course, we only counted up to 20 because we couldn't get to 25. We don't have 25 pieces. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Little precious nuggets left. 4/5. 4 times 1 1/5 is 4 4/5. Beautiful. All right, let's jump over to number 5. You guys can do this. You're doing excellent. So we have 2 times 2 1/3. 2 1/3, to be sure we get all of those pieces, we're going to change it to a fraction greater than 1. Okay, so 2, I'm going to rewrite it, 2 1/3. So we have 2 whole things, and each of those things has 3 pieces in it. So 2 sets of 3, right? 2 whole things, 3, 3, plus that little booger, 1/3. So 2 sets of 3 plus 1 more piece. That's 6 plus 1 is 7. So let's write, I'm going to rewrite this problem, but I'm going to use 7/3 because 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So 2 times 7/3. All right. So 2 sets of 7, that's 14. And then, of course, the denominator doesn't change, 14/3. So we have to now change 14/3 to a mixed number. All right? I know, this is a lot, isn't it? Each of these problems has many steps to it. But there is nothing that you can't handle in here, boys and girls. You're doing great. So 14/3. So another way you can do this is write your multiples of 3 until you get close to 14. So 3 pieces, that's one whole thing. 6 pieces makes 2 things, right? 9, 12, 15. Oh, but wait a minute. I don't have 15, so sorry, 15. So how many whole things can I make with 14 pieces? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make 4 whole things, right? And then 12, I had 14 pieces. I used 12, so then I have 13, 14. I have 2/3 left. Okay, 2 times 2 1/3 is 4 2/3. All right, so I'm just going to say it one more time. First, you change the mixed number to a fraction greater than 1. Next, you multiply, and then if you end up with another fraction greater than 1, you change it to a mixed number. All right, you got this, guys. All right, we're down at the bottom of the page. It says a recipe for quinoa calls for 2 2/3 cups of milk. Connor wants to make 4 batches of quinoa. How much milk does he need? All right, do you guys know what this is? Quinoa. It's a grain. It's kind of like rice. I guess that would be the best thing to compare it to. It's rice, but it's more circular. Okay, and you can eat it with, your dinner like you would eat rice. It's pretty good. It's very good for you too. Quinoa. Okay, so a recipe for quinoa calls for 2 2/3 cups of milk, but Connor wants to make 4 batches of quinoa. How much milk does he need? Well, he needs 4 sets of 2 2/3 cups of milk. Okay, because he's making 4 batches. All right, let's take a look at this. Step 1. Is there a mixed number in there? Let's change it to a fraction greater than 1. Okay, here we go. 2 whole things, and in each of those things are 3. So 2 sets of 3 plus 2 more. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 more, 7, 8 is 8. Okay, so we now have 4 times 8/3. So we rewrote 2 2/3 as 8/3. Now let's multiply 4 sets of the 8 pieces we have. 4 times 8. Okay, let me think. 2 times 8 is 16. 4 times 8, 32. Denominator, thirds. Okay, so of course we're going to change 32/3 to a mixed number. 32/3 is equivalent to what? Mixed number. So a whole number and a fraction. So I already showed you a couple of ways. I showed you that we can, write little circles with the number of whole pieces in it. You can write your multiples, but you can also just do it like a division problem. Okay? We've done this before too, you guys. Okay, so remember division. Divide, right? Multiply, subtract, check, bring down. Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers, if we must say that? All right, so let's divide. 3, we have 3 10s and 32. So, yeah, 3 goes into 32 one time. Multiply, 1 times 3 is 3. Okay. S for subtract. 3 minus 3 is 0. Is 0 less than 3? Yes, that's our C for check. B for bring down, 2. Okay, so then we start back from the beginning. D for divide. So I think now 3, now I'm working with 2. If I have 2 1s, can I give a 1 to each of 3 people? Absolutely not. Boing, 0. Okay, so the quotient is 10 with a remainder of 2. But since we're working with fractions, remember that wonderful thing we can do? We're going to put that remainder right over the divisor. And that's our fraction. 10 is the quotient, or the whole number, and 2/3. So 32/3, 10 2/3. What is he doing? Cups. I want to make a label. Okay, so those are the steps again. Make the mixed number. a fraction greater than 1, multiply, and then when you get your answer to that, change it into a mixed number again. Okay? Excellent work, guys. Really, really excellent. All right, flip your paper over. This is number 2 on the back on the lesson check. Okay? The cheerleaders are making a banner that is 8 feet wide. The length of the banner is 1 1/3 times the width of the banner. How long is the banner? All right, so the banner, just to visualize, 8 feet wide. And when they say length, I always think long side, okay? So that's 8 feet. And then they said that the length, or this part, is 1 1/3 times the width. So it's 1 1/3 longer than the width. Okay? 1 1/3 times. You see that? That's very pleasant when that word is in there. So if the width is 8 and the length is 1 1/3 times, right? Okay, we can do that. So we have a mixed number. Let's change it into a fraction greater than 1. I have one set of 3 plus another piece. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Denominator 3, you're fine. 8 times 4/3. So 8 sets of these 4 pieces. We just did 8 times 4 in the last one, didn't we? Right? 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 4 is 32. Is this the exact same? It is. 32/3. We just did that one, didn't we, boys and girls? What is this, your lucky day or what? Whoever wrote this homework book needed to review it a little more carefully, right? Because we just did this division problem. That's awesome, though. Hey, whatever. We'll take it. Lucky day, right? Da, 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 da. Do it again. Bring down. Right? Yeah. Love it. 2/3. So quotient is 10. 10 whole things. 32/3 equals 10 whole things. And 2/3. That's awesome. All right, guys. Let's keep going. One more problem, I think. All right, boys and girls. Now, last one. Number 4 in the reviews section, spiral review. Which number is a multiple of 4/5? Now, look, guys. That is just from a lesson that you did pretty recently, right? Chapter 8, Lesson 2. That was just a few lessons ago. Do you remember multiples of fractions? Okay. 4/5. Okay. Multiple, multiply. We're going to think we have 4 pieces out of 5. What's 4 times 2? 8, right? That's the next multiple. What's the next multiple of 4? Right, 12. Denominator, same. 4, 8, 12. Next multiple, 16. Okay. Let's look at our choices before we, and I ran out of space before we go any further. Oh my goodness. Look at these choices, boys and girls. I could have, we know it's D, right? But we could have known that just by looking at these denominators they have here. You know the denominator in multiples of fractions does not get multiplied because you're not changing how many pieces makes one whole thing. You're just talking about the pieces you're talking about. Did that make sense? You're talking about the pieces. Yeah, you're just talking about the pieces. How many pieces? 4, 8, 12, 16 out of 5. All right. Excellent work, boys and girls.